Brief warning before I get started. This video contains horrifically gruesome descriptions of child murder and may be upsetting to some. I mean, I hope you're upset. Anyways, if you're okay with the fictional, not real, yet awfully violent descriptions of child murder, please continue watching. Another brief warning. I'm not a super fan of FNaF despite growing up with the series, having plushies, figures, etc. I'm just a very passionate casual gamer, and I think that the story and lore is perfectly fine for what it is. If you like that the lore is as confusing as it is, good for you. I've got no issue with your opinion, thus you should have no issue with mine. And please, e-begging isn't my thing, but consider supporting my Patreon and becoming a channel member to get more awesome videos like these out. Now, let's begin the retelling of Five Nights at Freddy's, all from the mind of me. Enjoy the show, folks. The lore of Five Nights at Freddy's, in my opinion, is one of the most confusing, convoluted pieces of fictional storytelling I've ever seen. I've yet to finish Security Breach and play the Ruin DLC, but it's been some time since it came out, so by now I know some of the things about it. But that doesn't mean I know some things about it. What does this cyber hair have to do with anything? What do you mean bears are extinct? What the hell is a The Mimic? So, in today's video, and possibly series, if you guys like this enough, I'm going to be retelling and reimagining the story of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza from start to finish. I'm also not too big of a fan of theming the appearance of the kids on the robots they possess, so these kids are all going to be just regular-ass children. Nothing like Bonnie's child having rabbit ears, or Foxy's child conveniently having a hook for a hand and an eye patch. Just normal kids, unfortunately lured to their demise. So, to finish my introductory yap session, without further ado, let's meet the band. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was founded in 1983 by Henry Emily and William Afton, two middle-aged friends who were sick of living in a crappy apartment together going job to job and decided to start their own business. They've always had a knack for puppetry, animatronics, and children's entertainment. They've had a couple of gigs here and there, performing mascot work for Little League baseball games as well. They were a perfect team. Henry did the design work, and William did the construction. Each animatronic was designed to be as inviting as possible for kids and grown-ups alike. Henry and William thought to use a lot of appetizing colors, like reds, yellows, dusty black, and toyish blues here and there. I actually took inspiration from a certain type of color theory that McDonald's and other fast food places use, which is to make your customers hungry by simply looking at the logo. Freddy is based on local pizza places, Bonnie is based around cartoons, Chica is based on Happy Meal toys, and Foxy with bars. Foxy's purpose in my reimagining is to be an overstimulation relief for adults, after all. The animatronics all share the same endoskeleton model, with just a few extra applied joints here and there for some, covered in a hard plastic shell coated with fluffy fur all over. They also wear real clothing made for humans. So Freddy here has XXXL men's pants and overalls on, as well as Bonnie, and Foxy's torn pants too. Chica's dress is a vintage from the early 60s, and is William's grandmother's dress. How sweet. The animatronics were also not built in the same day, but were planned years in advance. The business flourished, serving pizza and treats to kids around the general area, as well as providing games, prizes, and fun for all. Adults even got a share in the fun with Foxy's Pirate Cove, which was an adults-only bar where Foxy would be rolled back into to serve alcohol to the grown-ups, if they paid a little bit extra for the service. Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica would all perform on their stage every day for a few hours, doing questionnaires and sing-alongs for the kids to enjoy. Foxy, on the other hand, would have his hourly pirate shanty and cannon full of tickets event every weekend from Friday to Sunday, but mostly provided as the adult's companion throughout the week. In 1987, after 4 years of the business thriving and seemingly having no end in sight, tragedy strikes. That's right, baby. There is no Bite of 83, and there is no Fredbear's Family Diner. Only the Bite of 87 here, as God intended. In my retelling, most of the FNaF story goes chronologically, meaning that FNaF 2 is set in the distant future rather than in the past. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to reveal everything to you. Take your guess. Who did the Bite of 87? Comment below who you think it was for a chance to win absolutely nothing, fuck you. A short-lived, mascot-based pizza joint's reputation and status ruined only 4 years after starting. How could that have happened? In the midst of the trauma, Henry Emily vanishes from the business, and William's life with no trace. William is left to deal with the papers and press, news vans, and distraught parents all on his own. The business didn't even last half a decade, yet so much has happened in between. And don't feel bad for old Willie here. He has always been a horrible person. He would frequently get in fights with Henry, trashing the place around and possibly ruining plans for the future, and causing Henry to step out of his life temporarily, more than once. But the bite. The bite was inexcusable. There is no returning from something as traumatic and horrible and gruesome as that. Robots that Henry viewed as his own children, ruined, covered in the blood of the innocent. Without Henry Emily, William Afton had nothing to hide now. On his own, he could do what he's always wanted to do, make death traps. He loved to experiment and create. Being the creative engineer for the four main animatronics, he designed them with a cruel and specific purpose: to lure, to attract. All four animatronics have spring-lock technology stored in their jaws, ready to snap shut like a bear trap at the slightest touch of a pressure plate stored in the bottom jaw of the animatronics. Perfect for executing victims like wild, animal-shaped guillotines. And that's the basic rundown of the story. Now, onto the animatronics, their personalities, and how the children possessing the animatronics have tragically died. Freddy Fazbear is the always positive, optimistic driving force and speaking voice of the gang. He's cuddly, the most outgoing, and a very faithful leader. He's the front man of the band, the star of the show, and the poster child, literally, of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. In my reimagining/redesign, I pictured Freddy to be peppy, snuggly, and ready for showbiz. He's got a microphone in hand, red overalls, long black pants, a bow tie, and his iconic top hat. Freddy, when haunted, or what William Afton calls security mode, which is a complete lie, Freddy is still a strong leader, but easily crumbles under pressure. This is because the child who took over was very shy, but had a big, innocent heart. He was the type of kid to stand up for complete strangers on the playground, but get bullied himself alternatively. The type to just let things happen, but not take any smack from anyone if it's towards someone he cares about. If you got to know him, he was very reserved and to himself. He had an outgoing shell, but it's merely a cover-up to try to make himself look bigger to avoid conflict. Unfortunately, though, we all know how this ends. He went on a trip to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in the golden year of 1985 for a friend's birthday party. He was close to these kids, so he didn't bother hiding his true nature. He was in his own little world, watching the other kids play on the playset, singing and dancing with the animatronics. At this point, William has yet to slaughter any children yet. This was his first victim. He wanted to apply a false sense of security onto the children and make them trust William fully. Afton told him of a great, fun place for kids like him to take a break. He called it the Calm Room. Quick note, in my retelling, Afton has a thing for children with horrible attitudes, and he sees them as deserving of their slaughter. His lust for blood is endless and meaningless, yet he tries to find meaning that could be excused in his eyes. The boy, who had been lured into the back of the pizza place, where no cameras reside, had quickly realized that he'd been set up and was lured into the damp back rooms of the pizzeria. Not knowing what else he can do, he makes a break for it into the supply closet nearby. Afton gives chase, but the scared boy holds the door shut the best he can, shouting for the man to go away. But only the muffled cheers of children can be heard on the other side of the walls. After some time, the door gives in, and the boy lets go. He makes one final, quiet move to the darkest corner he can find, and silences himself. He waits, hoping the man would go away so he can live another day. But Afton knew that supply closet up and down, and knew where the best hiding spots would be. He pulls back a blue tarp and reveals the boy, who can't even muster a scream because of pure, agonizing fear. Afton shouts and stabs the boy in the arm, having his other hold onto Afton's, trying to remove the knife from his forearm. Afton, filled with pure adrenaline and struggling to overpower a child, gives a brief confused expression for the lack of screams and fear coming from him. Eventually, after a brief struggle, William Afton overpowers the boy and stabs him in the stomach, chest, and leg, all just for fighting back a bit too much. The 11-year-old kid's final facial expression is one of empowerment, but droops into a sad, empty nothing. Bonnie the Bunny is a chill dude, a rockin' guitarist with a big passion for music. He's always keeping it cool and trying to get kids to enjoy their time at Fazbear's with a rockin' nightly bass guitar sesh. I designed him to be as chill as a 6-foot purple rabbit can be, with slicked back ears, long droopy limbs, a big belly, and awesome multicolored shades. He speaks slowly and chillax, like a typical hippie stereotype of the 60s. He has big buck teeth and a puff of hair on his head. He sits on a log 90% of the time he's on stage, only getting up when hoisted by strings during the final bow of that night's performance. His possessed alternative side is very aggressive, putting away his fake persona that he puts on for the kids and shows his true, revenge-thirsty self. Never bothering to keep his cover or hide, well, considering he's at least 6'5", he kinda can't. Bonnie's entire attitude is flipped upside down, and his motives are straight to the point and deadly. He will do anything to go out of his way to get what he wants. Bonnie wasn't lured into the back of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Oh no, no, no. He was dragged. Bonnie's child was very emotional, always having an issue with something. He was raised in a home that kept him quiet, and always put on a happy face for his relatives. He had adopted a false personality due to his true self being deemed too much to deal with. One day, though, something just ticked. If he wasn't himself at all, he could get the love of his family back. For months, he kept suppressing his true self to gain the love of his parents, and one day, his grandparents paid a visit and took him to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza for his 10th birthday. He absolutely hated it. He was so overwhelmed with the colors, the music, and the lights, and stormed off to relax and try to keep his cool. But he couldn't take it anymore, and ended up lashing out at the staff. When Afton joined to see what the kerfuffle was, he tried to lure him into the pizzeria's calm room where Freddy died, and Bonnie did not believe a single word he said, as he screamed and punched, not believing at all that something as gross as a pizza place would have a place for kids like him to relax. Afton catches on that the kid found out, and is trying his absolute hardest to get the man off of him, but it was much too loud and busy that day. When Afton finally got him into the quiet back room, Bonnie was a flailing mess on the floor, swinging left and right, screaming and kicking, until unfortunately, he left an opening. Afton times his strike and overpowers Bonnie, and stabs him in the chest with one swift lunge, silencing the boy forever. Chica is a rootin' tootin' cowgirl with a knack for extra cheesy pizza and having a big heart. She's loyal to her friends and stands up for Foxy whenever he's being poked at by the boys during shows. She's usually the backup singer for Freddy, Bonnie's opposite, and tends to be the loudest of the group. I wanted her to be as bright as possible, with the intention of drawing kids' attention to look at her and to trust her. With her silly cupcake friend, Cowboy Carl, Chica's energy is unmatched, and she tends to get the most hype out of the kids. I also designed her to look more like a chicken than she originally did, being usually mistaken for a duck. She has feathery arms that frequently drop feathers, a big blue dress, and her iconic Let's Eat bib. Also, her jaw is broken. One night during closing, some leaking water from the previous night's rainstorm dripped into Chica's mouth and snapped her spring lock mechanism shut, completely destroying her bottom jaw. As it hangs low, it really amplifies her volume. Her possessed variant shows a more depressive, shy girl that really shows her age. When Chica died, she was only 5 and was a very shy and thoughtful girl. She found the idea of breaking mere objects to be murder, gave as much as she could away to those that didn't even need it, and was the most selfless little girl you'd ever meet. Chica is almost empathetic, causing those who fall victim to her to be lured into a false sense of security, just like William Afton. She will frequently shout for the victim if she knows them by name in the halls of the pizza place, creating an ear-piercing electrical-type shriek sound that piques the animatronic's built-in speaker as it echoes through the halls of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Like I said, her jaw hangs low, causing her voice to be direct, booming, and horrifying to listen to. Chica was taken from the front entrance of the pizza place while throwing trash out in the recycling bin that conveniently sits outside of the store. She was doing this deed for her mom, who wanted to teach her a lesson on responsibility and doing things for herself. Afton swiftly exited the building and snatched her, taking her into an alleyway of the pizza place, straight into the back room with no hesitation. The second she was taken, she demanded to be put down or else her mom would come and get her, and screamed as much as she could. Despite not knowing the full extent of what was going on, she still did everything she could to try to convince Afton not to do anything bad. For only a 5-year-old, Chica was very socially intelligent and knew the alphabet way before the other kids. Unfortunately though, Chica's short time on Earth was ended after Afton sliced her face open, having her pain not end quickly, but prolonging it. He sliced and stabbed over and over until Chica's last breath, or rather scream, remains unheard. Foxy is the wacky and eccentric pirate fox, always on the search for the greatest treasure, the free pizza on Tuesdays deal. Foxy's role in the band is to be a one-off attraction that plays when the main three either need a bit of a break or to distract the kids in the audience to buy some time for maintenance. His main use, though, is to be the adults attraction, delivering beer for those that paid extra, and telling jokes that go over kids' heads, without being too inappropriate. He sings many sea shanties and has a rather quick notion to him. He swings his hook left and right to the tune of his shanties, and always demands the audience say "arrgh" at times. He's also held up by cables to give him the freedom of movement on stage, similar to Bonnie, as he's seen some rough times over the years, and can't really hold himself up that well anymore. There's an event that takes place near the end of the day at Freddy's that involves taking an up-close picture with Foxy, hence the scars all over him. Kids just can't keep their hands off. Oddly enough, the child that's taking control of Foxy wasn't even there during open hours. A teenager wanted to loot the place and broke in during the late hours of the night. He kicked and smashed everything with a baseball bat, completely trashing the pizzeria. When he found the closed curtain where the animatronics were resting, he opened it, preparing to smash those bots' faces in. Just before he could, William Afton appears from his office and yells. The teen jolts, dropping his bat from the scare, and makes a run for it. He tries to get out the same way he got in, and climbs through a window. Shards of glass punctured his skin and made him retreat, as Afton finally caught up to him. He sees the man approaching and climbs into the back of the store to dash to the other exit through a hallway, but it was locked tight. Without knowing what to do, the teen is defeated. He slides his back against the exit door and starts wailing, with his hands in front of his face, screaming and attempting to beg for mercy, pleading with Afton not to call the police. Afton ignores everything that was said, quickly rushes over, bends a knee, and shanks him in the stomach until he stops screaming, and finally slices his throat until the adrenaline stops, and he dies. I'd call that one a pirate's demise, if I say so myself. And that's my version of the story of how each animatronic got to be how they are. And I personally think I did a bang-up job on how fucked up this is. Murder isn't usually super clean, you know. Another detail that I'm gonna borrow from the FNaF movie, which, by the way, this contains spoilers, so if you haven't seen it already, just skip here and you'll be spoiler-free. The animatronics have no hatred towards children. They themselves are kids, after all. I actually kinda like this detail in the movie, where the animatronics weren't really even scary or murderous. They were just defending their home from looters, thieves, and eventually William Afton. So the only reason why my guys are this hostile is because they see you as a threat and unwelcome to their domain. So I hope you all enjoyed my retelling of this shit show of a video game, and if you like this, please tell me whether or not I should do more. I'd love to keep this story going, but for now, that is all. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Concentrate! Medium